Welcome to TAAP Connect, the digital transformation podcast. In this episode, we'll discuss why no-code isn't just for citizen developers, but how pro developers are using it to build complex applications faster. We'll be exploring the advantages of no-code development and the challenges that come with it. Joining us are Steve Higgin and Paul George, experts on this topic who will share their insights and experiences. So if you're a professional developer looking to learn more about no-code development, this is the episode for you.
Hi, Steve.
Good evening, Paul.
We're here today to talk about no-code, low-code. Is it just a trend or is it a technology that's here to stay?
Well, it's interesting you say no-code, low-code in one phrase, because actually no-code and low-code is very different. And both of those have actually been around for at least 20 years. It's just that actually there is a greater recognition, as I'm sure you've kind of heard recently, of actually what these technologies can do for business.
Yeah, I must admit, I hadn't heard, and I'm in the industry, as we know, no-code, low-code, I hadn't heard of that term up until, was it about 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think that's probably true. And I think the issue has been that this technology has been readily available and used, as you would know, through TAAP, and we've deployed this to many enterprise customers. The challenge has been that actually there's the concept of you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of people haven't been looking for technology to help them accelerate the development of software in the way that low-code and no-code facilitates. So to that extent, as the pressure has come onto industry now to actually then reduce the backlog on software and software IT, there just aren't the resources around, there just aren't the developers around. So therefore, they've finally started to look out to the market for technology to help people actually deliver and produce software more quickly. And that's where actually now the interest in no-code and low-code has come to the fore.
Yeah, and when we talk about no-code as well, I'm understanding that it's getting a bit of a bad name instantly because people are saying, well, it's only good for simple apps and not complex ones. That's where you're going to need low-code. And even then, you're probably going to need a developer to start coding to really make it extend and integrate with other systems.
Well, I think that goes back to the early days of when people were trying to use expert systems to build applications using no-code and low-code type solutions in the early 2000s. And yes, the tools weren't particularly mature. But TAAP was actually set up in 2004, coming from the space and defence sector with the intention of actually delivering enterprise no-code software. The objective was to actually then, as a developer, be able to then embrace this technology to do more quickly for organisations. The challenge was actually that no-code was actually then seen as a negative for many IT teams because they felt they were actually going to lose their jobs, not going to be as valuable, which was not the case. The whole purpose of no-code is about allowing an organisation and its business and developers to work more effectively together so you can do more faster and actually also reduce the amount of time it takes to code, test, debug and release software. So there are very, very many benefits to no-code, but a lot of the perception of actually it can't be used for any serious applications are based on kind of historic issues that were problematic. But now these modern technologies are being used for actually running very significant business and mission critical applications for the largest of global organizations. So yeah, it's time for people to look up and actually then take a view at this technology again.
Yeah. So no code, we're dispelling the myth that it's just for simple apps. Obviously we know because we have a no code platform and we can build very comprehensive and complex apps that integrate with systems as well. So I know one thing that comes up quite often, and I've heard this a lot, and this is, the drag and drop function on a no-code platform. So I've got a no-code platform. If it hasn't got drag and drop, then it's not very good. And I understand drag and drop's got its place, but that's where you usually find the very restrictive no-code platforms.
Yeah, I think there's two levels there. There are no-code technologies that use drag and drop to help the most early adopters. But very quickly, as you start to build applications using no-code technology, you find a drag and drop interface actually becomes problematic. It becomes slow to actually then create applications. And as soon as you then move over to a descriptive, declarative type language, which is what TAAP's tended to use, you can suddenly create applications incredibly quickly with actually editors that actually help and direct you, a bit like the AI co-pilots that Microsoft have created for code completion. We've created exactly the same technology for no code, which now means that you can build applications very quickly. It actually guides you in terms of what you can put in at the right place. And in actual fact, we have somebody at the moment creating a no-code application in our no-code platform. So if you really wanted a no-code editor, you can have that as well. So yeah, the challenge of actually classifying a no-code application as a what you see, what you get editor is actually wrong. The broader view now of actually what people are doing with this technology, especially with AI and generative technologies now, is actually you can generate applications in no code using AI technology in a few seconds. So this is a real sort of a step change to actually what's going on.
Yeah, just expand on that, explain that, because I mean, AI, a few seconds, there's obviously a process involved here. What is that?
Historically, the software development lifecycle requires that people define upfront the requirements for the end user, the solution they're going to build. And then from that, you then have to describe that in a document that you hand over to a developer or to designers, and they'll go through and then try and expand that into more detail to give that to a programmer who may not understand the subject matter that they're about to then develop an application for. They've then got to then write all the code for that, and then actually others in the team will then actually write the code to test all of that to then make sure that it's functioning correctly. The modern way that organizations, and you'll see now with ChatGPT and technology like TAAP's ACE, you can define a design specification, give that to an AI front end, and that will build you the application in a few seconds. That's all completely machine generated. No human interaction required in terms of actually building the code, and it's all tested or it's actually bug free because actually it hasn't been touched by a human hand. So this is quite a step change from actually the way that people have been developing software. The benefit for this is actually it drives the agility of actually an organization to commit to build some software, learn, and whereas traditionally you may have spent hundreds of thousands of pounds building an application because it's taken you months to build it, you can change your design model, press the button, and rebuild it in a few seconds. So you don't end up in a situation where people are pressured to actually then just living with what they've had developed, when in reality they've already found out that this is no longer applicable to what they're wanting to do. So this is going to change significantly the way that actually people develop software, and no code effectively is the next step before we get to AI-assisted development tools, which is actually the next phase where people will be familiar with ChatGPT.
Yeah. So I know that we have clients that sometimes struggle with, I do this process on paper, on a spreadsheet, and they've got an idea in their head about what their application may or may not look like, but they struggle to see it. And in most cases, and I know this obviously because we're having conversations with them and they've looked elsewhere maybe for an application, a provider, a service provider to solve their issues, and they're struggling. They come to us. The great thing I know about, especially with the sort of AI and ACE, the automated compiler engine.
Yep,
that's the one.
Compilation
engine. That's the one where you have the data structured in a format, maybe a spreadsheet already, and you pretty much press a button and it creates a framework app basically. Yep. And then you can do all the tweaking, the nipping and tucking, etc.
Exactly. It will generate around 90 to 95% of the application for you. So this will create both the user interface, the linkage to your data storage, all the queries, and the database as well. So now you actually have a fully functioning application where you can then search for the entities, the data in your system. You can add new records, you can edit records, you can delete them. So in effect, for a no-code developer, it means that actually you've created a complete framework that you can make use of very quickly. And for a pro developer, you can actually then get through and actually focus on the more complicated parts of the application even more quickly. And this is how we're collapsing the software development lifecycle, not just by a factor of 50 or 100, but by 10,000 times, because actually you're listening to the subject matter expert, you're listening to actually what they need, defining that at the front end, and within a few seconds creating a fully functional, demonstrable application. And that's one of the key challenges historically for projects and why they failed. The issues being it's the time it's taken from the definition up front with somebody like a business analyst listening to the subject matter expert all the way through to the point where the code is first created that somebody can run. That could be weeks or months later, and by then the requirements have changed. So this is, again, the benefit of no-code technologies, is that it's actually helping to collapse that timescale and provide a business with the agility that it needs to be able to react to change.
And so that really is the same message that we hear about low-code platform technologies as well. They're saying the same thing. So, I mean, obviously there is a difference. There's no code and there's low code. Low code being there is an element of coding in there. So you do have to be a trained developer or have some sort of formal training around that area to be able to create applications using those type of platforms.
Yeah, the concept of low code effectively is building upon conventional programming. In the early 2000s, you'd be writing in a conventional programming language, C, C++, Java, and you would actually have packages of software that would actually then mean that you didn't have to write as much. So these are reusable libraries. And so the concept of low code, meaning actually those libraries exist, have been around for a long time. What's happening now is that those libraries are getting surfaced and delivered in the cloud. And you need to understand how to interface and call those libraries. And those modules typically require that actually you're using JavaScript or a high-level programming language to actually then communicate to that, understand about how to pass data, get the data back, security. So suddenly, very quickly, you're becoming a programmer. And the reason why no code and low code has such a big difference behind it is the fact that with no code, you really don't have to understand any paradigms around programming stacks, variables, APIs, networking. The tooling actually helps you build an application. As soon as you start walking into a low code environment, you're basically starting to form a team member for the actual developer or DevOps, because you're still programming. And you're programming in JavaScript or some similar sort of language. So again, no code and low code sounds very similar, but there's a distinct difference and benefit to an organization that invests in a no code platform that helps them scale at enterprise.
Yeah. So we're talking no code platform technology with AI, generated applications.
Yeah.
Obviously ACE function on there as well, so you can pretty much press a button with some structured data and create 90% of the application straight away without touching code at all.
Without touching code. And the benefit, and again, this kind of goes back to the experiences that people had with these types of technologies in the early 2000s, was that historically you were only able to generate the code typically once. And if you started to make a change to it, then at that point you could never regenerate it. The ACE engine that TAAP's been creating allows you to keep generating and regenerating and amending and adapting. So this then becomes effectively an AI-assisted tool. But as part of the way that the ACE technology works, it will classify the type of data, identify the type of application, and give you guidance and advice on what other functionality you might want to add into that application. So this then, again, now then helps actually a no-coder to then draw upon the expertise of a technology that actually is helping you grow and add more to the solutions you're building. So, coming back to the opening kind of question, or the point of the question about a trend, the trend isn't really no-code, low-code. The trend is moving towards AI-assisted development of applications. And TAAP, as the Agile Application Platform, is actually uniquely positioned because actually this is the target, the environment that we foresaw would actually then appear. We just didn't expect it to take 2 decades.
Yeah. But I know this much. There's tens of thousands of users, hundreds of thousands even, on TAAP's no-code platform, using it every second of the day and night. And it's all no-code applications. It has
Absolutely.
been, back since, 2003?
2004, yeah.
2004. So, so no-code, it is here to stay. It is not just a trend. It's been around for 20 years already, and I think it's well, maybe I wouldn't say unfortunately for TAAP, but fortunate as well, because it becomes a little bit more common knowledge that there are platforms like TAAP, no-code TAAP platforms. You build applications it's super quick, very fast, especially with the latest AI technologies on there as well being adapted. So,
well, even with the conventional TAAP enterprise platform, we've had clients with 2 business analysts create over 1,000 applications in their first year, deploy that to 88 countries globally without any IT experience, and they've been running the same applications since 2010. It's now 2023. They've expanded it up to nearly 6,500 different processes for their clients in the energy sector, and their team's gone from 2 to 3 people. They are the subject matter experts in their industry, and they are effectively then controlling and defining the data and the flow of data within that industry for its customers. And this is the power of this technology. You are not dependent on actually trying to maintain the knowledge of a particular industry sector within a small, very specialist team of programmers. In this particular case, these are subject matter experts who understand the sector that they're actually dealing with. So that's the power of actually this technology. It's democratizing software to the broader audience of people who are working within industry, supported by IT. It's just a better way of working.
Yeah. And I think it'll be good for the audience, listeners and audience to understand this too. And I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you the question so you can let them know too. And that is, let's think about some complex solutions that I know TAAP have provided on the no-code platform. Because, I know when I've spoken to clients and they said, well, we've tried a no-code technology, they've tried it to use it for a very simple process, a questionnaire, something like that, or a very short audit. But I know we've delivered some really, really complex applications on our no-code platform, and maybe we can just spend sort of 30 seconds a minute just explaining 1 or 2 of those.
Certainly. I think one springs to mind would actually then be the patient discharge system for an acute care hospital. So government digital exemplar hospital, the best of the best, and there are only 15 of them at the time. We visited one of these hospitals to help them on a different issue, and the data transformation manager for the hospital identified the TAAP platform would be perfect to help them eliminate Excel, which was the shadow IT technology they were using to help them with the flow of patients from the emergency department into the different wards. And while they're under medical supervision, they were looked after by the electronic patient record systems. But as soon as they were actually ready for discharge, it moved over to the TAAP technology. So we were able to then keep track in real time of patients flowing through the hospital, communicating to the local authorities with the district nurses and actually the social care workers to actually then provide a fantastic solution for the NHS. That was supposedly meant to be something that actually was too complicated to actually digitise. And we did the whole thing with 1.5 people in 4 weeks. So the benefit of this technology is the fact that actually you can use no code to work the subject matter experts who know what they want and deliver solutions in a very short time. And as you mentioned, we've done this into many different industries and sectors, because the benefit of this technology is that you can draw upon the expertise of the people who use the technology, and actually they can actually then shape the solutions that they need. And more often than not, when they start to build technology or solutions with no code, actually their eyes are opened up to actually the broader picture in terms of the visibility they get from the data they capture, the actionable insights they can actually then have from this to make better informed decisions to be more effective. So yeah, there are very many benefits to this. And
final question really. How long does it take someone to understand and be trained to use a platform like TAAP?
So I'll use our sort of oil and gas client. So they had 2 business analysts. Well, actually, one was a ex-nuclear power station mechanical engineer, was not an IT person at all, and his secretary. They tried rolling out a similar sort of system before, done a little bit of HTML, but nothing really much. It was just being used as a kind of a descriptive language to help them define the forms. We trained them for half a day on our technology, and basically they deployed a solution that actually was rolled out to 1,000 processes and 15,000 people globally with no IT support. the benefit of this technology with ACE is the fact that actually you don't actually have to know anything about it, because actually ACE will create you everything and then allow you to then come in and change the application afterwards. Now you actually have a completely structured, well-defined layout. You don't have to even really understand the TAAP technology itself. So there are lots of benefits of actually using AI-assisted tooling, because it means that actually you can learn experimentally as you start building these applications. But rather than having a high learning curve, you can hit the ground running, learn quickly, evaluate, change, adapt. And that's the benefit of modern software. It's allowing you to actually then learn these things at a much faster pace than you would traditionally been able to.
Yeah. So I know the solution development lifecycle, the SDLC, I've heard that being conventional development, it's always months. Maybe it's 6 months, and sometimes it's over a year. So no code obviously is going to be much shorter than that. Low code, maybe a bit longer. Well, it will be longer than no code. And that kind of sums it up quite well, would you say?
Yeah, I think there's a very clear differentiation in the terms of actually low code. You're basically part of the software department using JavaScript, working with actually the IT teams and DevOps. No code is not about not working with DevOps. It's allowing actually a greater freedom for the business to be more effective, working supported by the development teams as opposed to having to use them. And that's kind of the flexibility at this stage. But with the new AI-assisted technologies, that's going to accelerate even faster. And that's actually an interesting space to watch.
Brilliant. So in summary, I guess no code is not just a trend technology. It's here to stay. And in fact, it's been around 20 years already.
That's right. Yeah, it's a mature, stable technology that's been deployed at enterprise and is going to accelerate even more processes and help organizations digitize even more of their businesses by making use of these later technologies.
All very exciting. Brilliant.
It is. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.